Hi, everyone. I'm so glad to see all of you. I'm Jasmine, editor-in-chief of Miss Millennial magazine, and thank you for coming to our first interview event. We're doing this on Facebook Live, giving you all an opportunity to ask questions for the person we're interviewing, and we're so excited about this. Today, we're going to be interviewing Dani Pascarella. She's here, and she's going to be answering your money questions. So I know that we said that we're going to answer some questions. I have some questions for Dani to start, but keep in mind that we're going to be answering your questions too. So if anything comes to mind, make sure to add them in the comments, and we'll get to them in the end. All right, let's bring Dani in.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Jasmine.
Hi, Dani. Welcome. We're so glad to have you here.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to hear your questions as well as some questions from your readers.
Awesome. Yeah, I know we're going to have plenty, and I have a few for you myself. So let's start with those.
Let's get into it.
Perfect. So why don't you start by telling everyone a little bit about yourself?
Of course. So I am Dani Pascarella. I'm the founder and CEO of Invibed, and we are a tech-based financial education company that combines video lessons, financial plans that are customized to you, and one-on-one mentoring to make successful financial management a reality for young professionals. So you can kind of think of us as like the financial advisor before the financial advisor. And in terms of my background, so I have worked in finance for what seems like forever. I became a licensed stockbroker when I was just 19 years old, and I've worked in the industry ever since, most recently on Wall Street, where I managed money for people with $25 million to billions of dollars. And I even did a fun stint over at CNBC on Mad Money with Jim Cramer on that show. So a lot of great experience in finance. I love it. And just excited to be here and to help out and answer any questions you guys have.
That's awesome. As you guys can see, Dani knows her stuff, okay? I'm so excited. I know you work with multimillionaires and television talking about money. I mean, I don't think you get much more credibility than that, like being able to speak. And you're a CFP.
Oh, yes, so, I'm a certified financial planner too. Yeah, I forgot to mention that.
Yes, that's a big one.
That's a very important. That should have been the first one. Okay. Well, I'm that too, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so why don't you tell us a little bit about what made you want to pursue a career in finance?
Yeah, so I have always been into finance. At first, it was like my parents kind of making me interested. My mother came to America by herself at age 16, like worked in a Macy's and was able to build a really successful life because she learned enough about finance to eventually become an accountant. So from like age, like right out the womb, I was being told like stocks, bonds. We'd watch CNBC together when I was 2. In fact, like I would have to get dessert. My mom would say, like, go run to the other room, tell me where, like, this stock closed and come back and you get a cookie. So she was almost training me. That's kind of how I train my dog now. So that's a little funny. But no, really, that's what she would do. So I've always kind of just been around it and really liked it. And as I was growing up, I grew up in South Florida. So there are a lot of areas that are really, really nice. And then there are a lot of areas that are, like, not nearly as nice. And you see that juxtaposition. So it really got me thinking, like, as I was growing up, like, how come some people really, like, can afford whatever they want and they get to kind of create their own destiny in their lives, but others just, like, don't have that opportunity? What is that? And it all came back a lot of times to, like, money and having that mindset. So from there, I educated myself and started reading a lot of books because at that point, I was not listening to my parents. I was in high school and was like, let me go get other information. And then, yeah. And that's really how I eventually got into it.
That's awesome. So money was like in your family and you just kind of went with it.
Forever. And it's just fascinating to see, you know, how much of a difference it makes. It's really paper, but it makes, that's what it is. It's printed, but it makes such a difference in people's lives and how they're able to live it that it's a little bit nuts, but it's fascinating.
Agreed. So with that being said, now, not only do you have a professional background with money, but you were raised around it. Your parents were telling you different things that you should do with your money, and that helped you along your way. So you probably have a good eye for when people are making financial mistakes.
Yeah.
So tell me, what do you think are the biggest issues with millennials when it comes to their finances?
Yeah. So first of all, I just want to preface by saying it is not your fault. Like if you feel like you're struggling with money or it's complicated or it's tough, guess what? Our education system does not teach this stuff. Like it's so frustrating. But I think of all the things I learned in school, like they made me learn how to play the recorder. And like I'm not a musical person. Never will I ever use it again. But like I learned how to play like basic songs on a recorder. And like I never learned how to manage money in school. It's wild. But so first of all, you're not alone. Like nobody gets this stuff. Unless they're in the position like me where like I weirdly had a parent who would talk to me about it every day, which is definitely not a common thing at all. So first, like just know that you're not alone. But in terms of things that you can fix, I would say the first thing you need to do is educate yourself. Like the difference between people who have money and people who don't is very often knowledge. It's the ability to understand how it works, how it moves, how you can get more, which is my favorite thing to do. And just really educating yourself is the first step. Whether that's you read books, whether that's you work with a company like mine, whether that's you're watching CNBC a couple hours a day, just take like 10 minutes a day to start learning how money works. And then secondly, like have a plan. If you talk to people who are older and you say like, what do you wish you knew more of when you were younger, or you did more? Like the biggest thing that comes up is always money. Like sometimes it's money and health are like the two things you'll always hear. So start early. The way I think about it is this, like if you think about your dream life and you think about like what you want your life to look like, because we only get to do this thing called life one time, like that's all you get. What does that look like to you? And then from there, like, first of all, nobody asks you that question usually. Like nobody's like, what does your dream life look like? So the first thing you can do is ask yourself that right now. Write it down, like get out a sheet of paper and do it, whether it's now or after this Facebook Live. And then from there, like think, am I on track to actually achieve this and like have this lifestyle that I want? And if the answer is no, then you've got to make some changes. And that's the best advice, and that's how you jumpstart it. Because 401ks, like investing, it's kind of saving money. It's kind of boring to a lot of people, but being able to afford the life of your dreams, like that's cool to everyone. Like, how can I travel more? How can I like work for myself and start that business? Like that's what learning about money will get you to do. And those are the opportunities you'll get from it.
I love that. And I would like to just harp on the part about writing it down. I think that is a huge part of it. For any goal that you set, writing it down makes a huge difference, because now you're taking from your subconscious and now you're conscious of it. This is something that I want. So I think that is great advice for anything, and especially for
anything, not just money, like literally. I do it like quarterly. I like check inventory and will like write down my goals at least.
Yeah, that's awesome. So another question I have for you is, what do wealthy people do that most people don't when it comes to money? Now, I know you've seen both sides of the spectrum, so you should have some.
Yes. So that's a really good one. I mean, the big thing, it just goes on top of what I just said, like wealthy people have a plan. It might not be them, the ones that are like making the plan. They might have a financial advisor or someone that forces them to like sit down and do it, but they have one. But the other thing that when you see people who are like, the wealthy people you read about in the news or that are like really like next level wealthy, they don't trade time for money. If you look at most people who aren't wealthy, or like are in like up and coming and like trying to get there, usually the biggest part of their income is salary. So it's like, here's my hourly wage for my job or my annual salary, and like that's all the money I make. By the time you get wealthy, and like if you're going on that path where you decide, hey, like I want to actually be wealthy, which is not for everyone, but if that's you, then you need to figure out a way to have other sources of income outside of your salary. So my clients on Wall Street who were like minimum 25 million net worth, salary was a teeny tiny part of all the money they made that year. They have things like investments in their stock portfolio. They have interest in companies. They have real estate. They have like all kinds of other things going on where salary is like, it's not necessary. And that's where you say like the real freedom is, the real definition of financial freedom is like being able to do what you want every single day. and not getting caught up in the rat race and having to like wake up every day and live a life you don't want to live like just to pay the bills.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that whole idea. And that's something that we don't think about either in regards to they don't work. You're telling me that the money that they're working for is not majority of the money. Like that just blows my mind.
Yeah, it's so crazy. The best example, like let's bring pop culture in. Like I was just looking at Kylie Jenner today, and her makeup line is like off the charts, like insane. It's doing so well, and I'm like, that's great because she doesn't even have to be there. Like there are actual people running that business for her, and she's like off driving like her fancy car somewhere and not really involved. But like that's the best example. Like look at the Kardashians. Like they do their thing, and yes, they work really, really hard, but most of their businesses that are really making a lot of the bank, like other people are running them. Like they're leveraging other people's time to make them more money.
That is crazy to me. And I know that, like I know those things. Like I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that's what he says too.
Great book. Yeah, it's one of my favorite books. Yeah.
But that just blows my mind. You said, I'm still like harping on the part that a small portion of their income is actually what they're working for.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's amazing. And I'm glad you get that example too. The Kardashians are great examples of people who have their money working for them.
Yeah, they have a squad working hard for them at all hours of the day. Like they're on the red carpet. No, but like their squad is like making the business run behind the scenes. Like no question.
Your thoughts are about them. Like they're doing something right.
Right? Yeah.
Okay, so here's a big one I have for you. And I think this is one that our audience would really enjoy. Can you give us 3 things that our audience can do today to improve their finances?
Yes. All right. That's a really good one. Let me think. Okay. So the first one is I'd say start investing. Like that's one thing that most people don't do until they're older and they realize that they have to do it. But let me tell you this. There's this thing called inflation. So if you remember, if you go to a vending machine now and you see how much it costs, and I haven't looked at a vending machine forever, but I did this like the other day. I'm like, that's like double what it cost when I was a kid. Like I was at YMCA aftercare getting like a soda from the machine and it was like half the price. What the heck? And the answer is inflation. So the price of everything is going up and up and up every year about 3%. But your money, if it's in the savings, it's collecting like 0 to 1% at best right now. So if you don't invest, you are actively losing your money. If you have savings sitting like in an account, you are losing your purchasing power. And if you're investing, if you look at historical market returns, so like when you hear like the rich get richer again, like they're investing. The markets will typically go up like 7 to 10% annualized per year since like investing was a thing back in the early 1900s in like markets as we see them today. So you've got most people in one bucket, like saving their money, putting it under the mattress or in savings wherever, making nothing. But people who invest are making like on an annualized basis 7 to 10%. Like which one do you want to be? So investing is really the only way long term you're going to achieve your money goals and actually build wealth. You have to get comfortable with it, and the earlier you do it, the better it is. And you can start for as little as like $10 now if you really wanted to, $5-10.
That's a good point. So one question I have for you, when should people start investing?
Yeah, so that's a great question too. It's different. So I want to blanket this by saying like financial advice, there's no such thing as one size fits all financial advice. Like there is no such thing as that. There are rules and things that generally make sense for most people, but like always like do the research, do the homework, understand if it's right for you before you go and do something, and just make sure it makes sense. But the point where you want to invest is one, no high interest debt. So if you have like credit card debt or like things that are really high interest, then like you're not ready to invest until you have like that debt paid off. Student loans, as long as they're low interest, are okay, but no like credit card debt or like expensive debt. 2, you want to have an emergency fund. So you want to have like 3 to 6 months of savings sitting like in a savings account somewhere in case something happens. Once you've got those 2 things knocked out, then like invest away for sure and watch that money grow. Now it's time to make that money work for you.
Nice. That's awesome. And I think that, I know you said not blanket advice, but I think that's
that's like for everybody to be investing. Yeah, so that's one thing. The second thing I think is that people who are like my friends and I don't really look at, but should more, debt payment. So watch that credit score like a hawk. And make payments on time is a big thing. So, and I see people throughout life. So in your early 20s, mid 20s, like, oh, I missed a student loan payment, I missed a credit card payment, who cares? That stuff stays on your credit report for 5 to 7 years, which like, that's a long time. So you've got to think like, where were you 7 years ago and how young you were, and think about where you'll be in 7 years from now. You might want to buy a house. You might want to lease a car. You might want to do things where you have to borrow money. And let me tell you this. If you want to buy like a typical house in the US, so like under $200,000 is like a typical value that you'll see like national average wise. Having a great credit score and having an okay credit score, the difference in interest, 50 grand, roughly. So by having a good credit score and making payments on time and just keeping that going, that's $50,000 of interest about in your pocket and not in the banks. And the thing is, people don't realize that until like they go to buy a house and they get denied for the mortgage, or like they get a really bad interest rate and they're paying all this money to other people, when really like that could have been money in their pocket. And it's a big amount, like 50 grand, like a year's salary for a lot of people. So that's another thing too. And then the third one I'd say is like set goals. Like don't let life just happen to you. Like own your life, own your success, and plan out what you want to happen.
I love that. And it goes back to what you said too, like writing it down, having your goals, and the part about owning your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're speaking my language right now.
Totally. You're 100% responsible for your life. If there's something that's happening, like bad things happen to everyone. Okay, life sometimes throws stuff at you that maybe is hard to handle or difficult to overcome, but it's how you react to those things. That's what makes you who you are, and that's what's going to separate like the people who are crushing it and living their dream life and the people who are like, oh, wow, where did the past 10 years go? I haven't accomplished anything. Like, I'm unhappy with where I am. And I see this because I literally spend all day talking to young professionals in all different situations. So I have a very large sample size to go on.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to get into some questions that we're getting here in the chat.
Bring them on.
But before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about a new project I know you've been working on. You have a wealth coaching program.
Yes.
So what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so we're very excited about this. It's actually been, it's been around for more than a year now. So we just had like our year anniversary with a lot of our clients, and it's amazing.
Woo, congrats.
Coaching, yeah, thank you. But wealth coaching is, the way it came about is I was working on Wall Street, and this is actually why I left Wall Street. I'm managing money for these super wealthy people, but meanwhile, all of my friends are struggling and like, I don't know what to do. So I just get coffee with friends to like try to explain it to them. And then it got out of hand. So then I started searching around for like, where is someplace somebody with less than $100,000 in the bank could go? Because once you've got like 100 grand, you can get a good financial advisor, no problem. But if you're like less than 100 G's liquid, like there's nowhere for you to go to get really good qualified help. I couldn't find anything, so I decided to leave Wall Street and actually start Invibed so that young professionals would actually have a place to go with these kinds of problems and to really get a handle on their financial situation. So what wealth coaching is you sign up and we're going to do 3 things for you. 1, you are going to get daily short videos right to your phone, and they're going to tell you, I made the curriculum myself, and it's as a CFP with 10 years of doing this, what do I think that everybody in their 20s and 30s should know about money if they're going to be wealthy and successful? And I made them into bite-sized, like 2 to 3 minute lessons. You get one every morning. So our clients like to say, like, we wake up with you and you learn about money before you even get out of bed. Like, you don't have to do anything. You hit play. You learn something. Great. That's the first thing. By the end, you will be like smarter about money than literally all of your friends. I can promise you that. And we cover everything from like credit to investing to retirement, 401ks to, basically how can you travel more and save for those big goals. So the whole spectrum. The second thing we do is we give you a customized financial plan. So you sync all of your financial accounts, credit cards, student loans, all of that to our portal. It's going to show you exactly what's going on across all of your accounts. And I know you have like 10 plus accounts because most millennials do. I do myself. And it's going to give you everything in one holistic picture. And from there, my team's going to go crunch the numbers. And we're going to give you a custom financial plan that tells you every paycheck you get, this is where every single dollar should go to achieve your goals. And we're going to automate it. We're also going to do, on top of that, one-on-one sessions. So we're going to talk about your goals. And like some popular ones for our clients are like, I want to travel more is a big one. I want to start a business. I want to go to grad school. I want to buy a house. So many things. I want a clothing budget because I want to be looking good every season and like get a wardrobe revamp. I'm not kidding. Like there's literally like every goal you can imagine. But our job is to help our clients reach those goals and come up with a plan where they're reaching those goals now and they're solid for the future. So one-on-one training, custom financial game plan, you've got the video lessons. And then once we do all that and we overhaul your financial situation, then we go and then we actually will track your progress. Like I'm the kind of person, if I go to the gym, right? If I go myself, I am texting on the phone. I'm walking at like 3.0 speed. Like I need motivation when to yell at me. So I pay my trainer to just basically come and like make me do what I deep down want to do. But like it's hard for me to make myself do it. So that's where we come in. We do the same thing a personal trainer would do, but for your money. So we're sending you like weekly updates, monthly progress reports. We're staying on top of you just to make sure that you're trending and on track to reach your goals that are important to you. So that is wealth coaching in a nutshell. We do all of those things. And our main goal is just we want you to identify what the life of your dreams looks like, and we want to help you achieve that and make that a reality.
Nice. I love that. And I love what you said too about being a personal trainer for your finances. I feel like that is the best way to set it up. And Dani told me about her program before, and I can say I'm going to be signing up for it because it's just so awesome.
Come on, love it.
It's like the thing about money is I don't like talking about it. I get like I know I have debt, and I get crazy like, oh, I don't feel like doing this, and just having the idea of someone holding your hand and doing all that for you, it almost sounds too good to be true. And if you're, like you said, making under 100K already, this is something that you feel like you don't have access to. Mm-hmm. So can you tell us how much does it cost to do a program like this?
That's the thing we're most excited about is because, so like I went to like learn how to code and like build stuff myself. And now we have a great tech team, but like we've been able to use technology to help automate a lot of what the old school financial planners who are mostly like in their 50s and 60s will do manually with like an Excel spreadsheet. So we've been able to automate a lot. And the whole point is I want this to be affordable for everyone. So we cost $39 a month. You're probably spending that on your bar tab. Let's be real for a second. Like you're probably spending that on stupid stuff you don't need every month. And the cool thing though is that you will make that back in the program. So on average, like 90 days after our clients receive their game plan, not guaranteed results because you can never do that with finance. You get out what you put in. But on average, our clients increase their net worth by about $3,000 throughout from 90 days of reaching their game plan onwards. And the game plan's their automated report. So like we believe that our job is to help you be successful, and we're going to do everything we can to make that happen. But so $39 a month. And we have a special now that's going on too, which is really exciting for fall. Yeah, so it's your first month is $1 just to get started. So no excuses. It's $1. You've spent $1 on probably many other things that are not as valuable as getting all of this stuff sorted out. So your first month's $1, and then after that, everybody pretty much keeps going. And it should pay for itself, which is great.
So I just put the link for you guys to go to it. It's misswomag.com/wealth-coaching. And if you use that promo code, fall into savings, that is how you get your first month for $1. So I don't know what you guys' budget is. I saw someone posted in there $468 a year. Honestly, you said $39. That's almost, that's what we pay for Hulu, Netflix, and HBO now because of Game of Thrones season.
Yeah, this is the best example because $39 a month seems like nothing. Like when you think about like the dollar amount and what you spend on, like think about all the things you spend $39 a month on and what that adds up to a year. Like coffee, you're probably spending like $2,000 a year on coffee. That's one of the things we do with our clients, which is shocking, is we will actually look at the past 90 days of spending and we'll be like, I like to say, like, show me your credit card statement and I'll show you what you value. And we'll actually break down, this is where you spent all of your money. And, like, are you cool with this? Like, are you happy to go to work every day and, like, spend it on this stuff? And, like, usually the answer is absolutely not. And we need to change some things, so I spend on other stuff. But, yeah. And you can also pay for the year up front if you want to do, like, the full year and you get another discount on top of that.
And that's awesome. I'm going to put the link. I know I have it in the title here, but I'm also going to put it in the comments for you guys, so you have access to that. As long as you get in there, it's only for 3 days, correct, Dani?
Yeah, it expires on Saturday, I believe. And just make sure to use the code, because like I'm all about free money, guys. Like I'm all about it. So fall into savings, promo code, put that other 37 right back in your pocket.
That's awesome. Yes. So like she said, by all means, take advantage of it. At the very least, like being able to have an understanding of where your money is going and how to spend it, and just setting life goals. I think for that alone is worth it.
Yeah. And if you guys are curious, like we do free consultations all the time. There's a form like on our site where you can schedule one. But the best thing I think is, like, I can tell you all day what we do, but the best thing is to hear it from other people. So if you go to our Facebook page, like we have a lot of customers that are amazing and they're really nice and they leave us reviews. So just go to Invibed, our Facebook page, click reviews, and like you can actually read what other people say. Because like I'd say like, I love this company, I'm gonna like be like, this is awesome all day, but like you've got to hear it from people who have done it to get the real deal and the real picture.
Nice. So yeah, I think that's really cool. Like I said, Dani knows her stuff. She is the brains behind this operation. So, my personal opinion, I'm going to do it. You should too. So, let's jump right in. I know that we had a few questions for other people.
Let's do it.
Okay. So, the first question we had is, from Chris. He said, what type of investments? So you were talking about investments earlier. What are some good investments for people?
So investing is a thing, and I'll again preface this by saying we're not an investment advisor, so we're not going to like tell you what stocks to buy or say like move your investments over to us and we'll manage them for you. That's not what we do. Our job is to teach you how to think like an investor and teach you basically like what I learned when I started working in finance about investing. I am passing that knowledge to you. But I'd say if you're looking to get started now, start very simple and go with a robo-advisor. The way there's some like Betterment's a great one, Wealthfront is a great one. We actually have them all on our website if you go like look. I know you guys rightly talk about them too, but what they do is historically there's been software that people on Wall Street will use to invest portfolios, and you have to go to a financial advisor to get to them. Robo-advisor just cut out the financial advisor, and they said, all right, instead of paying this financial advisor like 2% a year to do this, we'll just give you the software and we'll charge you a fraction of the price. So you're getting like the same thinking and software you would get from like historic Wall Street firms. They have the same people kind of behind the scenes working the numbers. But because there's no advisor involved, it's just a lot cheaper. And they give you a nice diversified portfolio filled, and they'll actually customize the allocation to your goals. So it's really cool. Betterment and Wealthfront are two of the top ones in my opinion. Later down the road, if you want to get into individual stocks, you can, but that's the kind of thing where most people lose money if they invest in individual stocks. The average person is just not, they lose money in the stock market. So you need to either learn enough to be able to make your own investment choices, or you need to get somebody like a robo-advisor or financial advisor to do it for you. And it's not that it's rocket science. The reason why people lose money is because something will happen, like a downturn in markets, and people freak out and they take out all their money. When they should really leave it in. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So you think stocks is probably what do you think is like the safer route for investments?
The safer. So okay, this is like a whole separate Facebook Live. But the thing you want to keep in mind is anytime you do anything with money, whether it's saving, whether it's spending, whether it's investing, it should be in line with your goals. So keep that in mind. Know why you're doing what you're doing before you invest. So if you're saving for like retirement, for example, you have a long time horizon. You're not retiring for like 40, 50, who knows how many years, depending on what your age is. So you can take on a lot more risk because you don't need that money for 50 years. Like if there can be like 50 financial crises and like 50 like rebounds, and it doesn't matter what happens between now and when you need the money because you don't need it yet. So you can take on a lot more risk. If you're like, oh, I need this money in 6 months to put a down payment on a home or like, buy a car or something, like you probably shouldn't invest that because what if markets have a fluctuation? Then you want that money to be like safe and available to use. So the investments really, really will depend on your situation. I would have to know what your situation is to tell you. But if you go to a robo-advisor, which is why they're so great, you plug in what you need the money for, and they kind of do their calculation, and they'll tell you what your investment should be. It's usually going to be a combination of stocks and bonds, and they're going to really diversify you. So it's not just going to be U.S. stocks. It's going to be U.S., Europe, Asia, like emerging markets. They're going to give you the whole run-of-the-mill diversification, which is nice.
Got it. Okay. And when you say robo stocks, can you give me a couple examples what that is? Sorry, I don't know. Robo stocks?
Oh, robo advisors.
Oh, robo advisors, yes.
So robo advisors, what they'll do is it's just a management tool that will invest you in many things. So they're going to invest you in stocks and bonds are like the two things that people typically will invest in. Stocks are going to be more risky typically, but more growth. And then bonds are typically less risky, but less growth. And they move kind of in tandem with one another. So historically, usually when stocks are up, bonds are down and vice versa. So they kind of balance each other out nicely. And then like crash course in investing, and this is again, like, do not go act on this. This is just like for your knowledge to learn. Typically, when stocks, like I said, when stocks go up, bonds go down, and the more risk you want to take on, the longer your time horizon, the more flexibility you have with the money, the more stocks will be in your portfolio. So you'll typically see very young people retiring with like tons of stocks, like 90% stocks maybe, and 10% bonds. When you go to somebody who's like retired and they're like, I need this money to live off of, I can't handle like a 2008 situation because I need this money now, they're typically going to be like 90% plus bonds, like 10% stocks. So does that make sense? Like it's usually the 120 minus your age rule. Like this is like for retirement, it's like a saying in the finance industry. Like you take 120, you subtract your age, and that's the percentage of your portfolio that should be stocks. Not perfect. Do not trade on this or anything like that. Like this is not advice, but that's just something people say that I think generally makes sense. But like I said, no such thing as one size fits all financial advice. Like you've gotta, that's why talking to somebody is so important, because like everyone's situation is unique and different. So like you've got to find what works for you and like what makes sense for you.
Okay. So if a lot of that was over your head, like some of it was for me, just know, like Dani already mentioned this, that they do like free consultations over at Invibed. So if you guys see that link I put in the comments, then you should be able to ask more questions like this and get more detailed answers and ask your specific questions too.
If that was over your head and you do our program, it won't be. I can say that.
Okay, good.
You will open your investment account at a robo-advisor, and we will like screen share with you to explain to you what every screen means.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
You understand what you're invested in, you understand what all the jargon means, and like you can go in with confidence.
Got it. Okay, cool. All right, let's get to another question.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, this one. What's the best way to build your savings on a tight budget?
That's a great question. It's one we get all the time at Invibed. So the first and foremost answer is automate it. Figure out what you can afford to save every month and make an automatic transfer happen the day you get paid for that amount, and just have it the day that cash hits your account, boom, transfer right out. It's not even your money. It's there for 2 seconds. You don't even know you had it. Then you have a nice savings account. There are some apps that can help with this too if it's hard, like Digit is one of them, Capital is one of them, where they will automate the savings process for you. And like, so Digit will look at your accounts and they'll figure out when you can afford to like put some money aside, and they'll just do it for you. Capital is one where like they'll round up your purchases and they'll put it into a savings account. There are a lot of apps that can help you kind of like cheat with savings if setting up an automation is like too much commitment for you. But then furthermore, I would say, like, why are you on a tight budget? Why does it seem like it's hard for you to not be able to save? And usually there is some really telling stuff in there. And that's the first step. Why is it tight? Is your rent too high? Are you living like in too expensive an apartment? Are you spending too much on stuff that's like not adding value to your life? Or like, do you just need to get a raise and like you're just not making enough money for the area you live in? But like, that's the first thing I would figure out before I figure out like how to save.
That is a good point. Is that something that you also go over with your, really?
Yes, we look at everything.
More income and really?
We look at income, we look at your paycheck. So we'll look at all your fixed expenses and we'll say like, hey, like your rent is 75% of your take-home pay. Like, no wonder why you're struggle city. Like, let's fix this. So we've actually had clients like move to cheaper apartments because they're like, oh, I get it now. I don't want to like, you know, I want to have more money to travel and have fun and not be, you know, in this apartment that I'm never even in because I live in like New York City.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So that's a great question. These are awesome. You guys are great. Keep them coming.
So I'm looking here. Oh, we have another one. Yes, we do. Here we go. Another one from Chris. What's a good way to pay down multiple credit card debts?
Yeah. Another great question. Okay. This is another, you guys are asking like a lot of really good ones that I get all the time. So the first thing you want to do is like understand what you have, like plot it. We do this for you for our clients, but plot out like card, interest rate, minimum payment, balance, so you know what you have. From there, pull your credit score. Usually refinancing is like the best thing you can do if you have credit card debt, but you need a really good credit score, like at least a 680 minimum to get a good rate for that. And by refinancing, I mean you take out a loan from like another lender. So your credit card debt on average, it's probably like 16% interest, which is crazy high, but that's the national average. Like for everything that you buy, tack on an extra 16% for every year that you have that debt revolving on your card. It's going to get expensive real quick. What happens when you refinance is a typical rate is like half that. So you're basically like saying, I'm going to pay half the interest just by refinancing. So you take out a loan with another institution, you immediately pay off your credit card. So you have no more credit card debt. And now you just make a monthly fixed payment every month until it's gone. That's typically the best way, but you've got to get that credit card up to, like that credit score up to do that. I see a question here. Why not get a 0% interest card to do that, to balance transfer it? Cheaper. Yes, it is cheaper than a personal loan, but here's where the psychology comes in. Most people that do that, they don't pay it off in time. And now they have 2 credit cards that are at capacity with high interest rates because that 0% period is only for about a year. So I have had clients that have done that like 4 times and they come to me panicked because they're like, I did 0% balance transfer and I kept doing it. And now I have like 3 cards with the balance and they're all now like 16% plus. So people get into trouble that way. If you're responsible, go 0% all day. But if you can't trust yourself to pay that off in time, and if you have credit card debt already, you probably fall into this bucket, then like, you know, you want to refinance because like you have to make those payments and you know the date the debt's going to be gone. So that's one method. If you cannot do the refinancing, then from there, you want to knock out the debt and put aside money, auto pay every month in a fixed amount, starting with like the most, there are a couple ways to do it, but the one that makes the most like mathematical sense, start with the highest interest rate and work your way down. Like you want to do what's going to put the most money back in your pocket and not the bank's. So start with highest interest, automate payments, make it happen every month, and do it the day your paycheck hits. And you can actually call the credit card companies and move your payment date to the day after you get paid. So like there is no excuse. They will move that date for you.
That's a good point. I never thought to do that. Just change your credit card payment date.
Because credit cards are a mental game. Like if you have credit card debt, there's usually something like mentally that's going on that like you're overspending and you can't get out of it. So you have to kind of mentally like trick yourself into getting back on track. That's where like the motivation comes in. That's like me texting on the treadmill. Like that's like the equivalent of credit card debt. It's like I kind of need someone to like be like, run, no 3.0 speed. What are you doing?
Nice. Okay. We have another question. Can you explain the reason to pay your car note twice a month instead of once a month? There's a reason behind that.
Your car note?
Yeah. So I guess paying a bill twice a month instead of once, are there benefits to doing that?
That could be a lot of things. Jacqueline, if you want to clarify, that would be awesome. Who asked the question? I think what you might be asking is, does it make sense to pay off like a loan or a credit card more than one time a month? I hear it actually mostly with credit cards, and that's usually like something people will do to make their utilization rate go down. So like if somebody were to pull your credit, like your balance that you owe the credit card companies are lower. One
reason to split car payments, what she says. So yeah, I think you're right. The way you're explaining
Yeah.
it.
There are a couple reasons why you could do that. I mean, it's not, from what I think she's asking, it's not something that's going to move the needle a lot, but it's a common piece of advice that people will throw around that like you think makes sense, but like it kind of does, but like it's not in the grand scheme of all the financial changes or things you can do. It's not going to move the needle that much. There are so many other things you could be doing that will help you more.
Okay, nice to know. I think those are all of our questions.
All right. Awesome. Well, great questions, guys. Hopefully that was helpful to you. And yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, it was definitely helpful for me. I got a lot out of it, for sure. We'll have the replay going. So hopefully if you guys have more questions in there, we'll be sure to see if we can keep an eye on them. But thanks for everyone who decided to come and ask your questions.
No problem. And I leave you with this, if nothing else, go and write down those goals and what that dream life looks like, because that alone, if you do that right now and take 5 minutes, I promise you, like, it will help you make some serious changes. Like, you won't even know it's happening, and you're going to come back and you're going to, like, write a comment on Miss Mill Mag in a couple of weeks, like, oh my gosh, like, my life is different. So
yeah,
that's it.
I agree.
Thanks so much, Jasmine. This was fantastic.
Thank you, Dani. And again, you guys, like, Dani knows her stuff. Head on over to that course. I have the link. And if you have any other questions about it, let me know.
Bye.
Bye, guys.